Hi there, welcome. My name is Saira Francis and I'm here to give you a channeled energy update and a healing meditation for May 2026. So the energy has been so potent, so much of a shift has occurred just in the last few days. I'm filming this shortly after the new moon in Aries, the beginning of a new astrological year, and the energy has been so incredible. So many people feeling it. It's a very positive shift. It feels very strong, but it's also affecting us on the cellular level, and we're all feeling very tired, very fatigued. If you're someone who's very in tune and sensitive to energy, you'll be feeling that even more strongly. So the call really is to make sure that we're looking after ourselves. Now, we are in a battle, a spiritual battle. I know many of you know that. Many of us have been warriors for many years now, trying to bring through the new energies of ascension and drawing in that energy of a new earth, or a remembering and activation of an old earth that our ancestors once lived in. And this is the time that we're really being called. The message is so strong to try to fight back by releasing fear. Fear is, and I've said this in previous videos, fear is the way that completely shuts down our heart. It blocks down our heart energy. A lot of people think love or hate. It's love or fear. Fear is the issue. If we can release it, if we can really come to ground, to balance, to find peace and contentment in simple ways of living and loving, then we can bring healing to ourselves and to the collective, to the world. So looking at where your fear is lying at this time. So it could be that you see through the veil, the Maya. It could be that you see through the narratives that, the psychological narratives that are being thrown at us from the media and have done for many, many years. It could be that you see through it all, but it could be that you're also connecting to fear just in another way. Another system, if you like, that is bringing in fear. So being really careful of what you consume at this time. There's a lot of energy around where people are feeling very vulnerable, very sensitive, like the skin is very thin. And that's okay. That's actually really good, because it means that we're processing, we're healing, things are coming up. That's great. Things come up for a reason. But watch what you're consuming yourself, the people you're spending time with, what they're saying, what they're talking about. Is it helpful? Is it constructive? Is it serving you? Are you trying to find new ways to move through this energy? Even if sometimes things do feel dark and challenging, we don't have to pretend, and we certainly shouldn't bypass the truth of what is going on in our lives and around us in the world. But are you consuming too much? Is your body feeling fear? Really connecting with your nervous system. What does your nervous system need? Not just your mind, not just your heart, but your physical body and the systems of your body that create regulation and allow your heart to open and expand. So the heart, it's no good just saying, feel love. We have to really look at everything that is standing in the way of us feeling love. And there's many areas of life that we can work on to improve the sense of loving vibration within us and around us. So one is the nervous system, making sure we're regulated and we're balanced and we're not getting triggered, we're not reactive. Not shaming yourself for that if that's happening, because it's natural, but looking at ways to try to calm your nervous system down, making sure you're resting, and then watching the consumption of fearful media, whether that's through social media, television, film, books, newspapers, however real that fear consumption may be. However important it feels for you to know that information and to connect with those people who also believe in that information or are looking into that information. Is it actually making you feel mentally afraid? And we don't always want to label it as fear. Sometimes we can label it as, being a warrior and, fighting back, but actually it can be coming from a place of fear. So really just sitting with that and looking at that. That's the message that's coming through very strongly. The other message is confusion. Now, if you're confused right now, you are not alone, and you are not struggling in an unusual way. The uncertainty about what is going on in the world is extreme. There has never been a time over the last few years where it's been harder to really understand what is happening. So if you feel confused, if you feel uncertain, the advice from Spirit this week, from the angels, is to be okay with that, to try and accept it, to accept confusion and accept uncertainty as part of a mystery of not knowing. And it can be frustrating and it can be difficult, but it's one of those things that can then send us off in trying very, very hard. The ego wants to make sense of everything. The ego wants to consume information, to try to make sense, to try and put everything into a nice neat box, a compartment of this is what I believe, this is what I think, this is the good guy, that's the bad guy, she's okay, she's not okay, this is correct, this is incorrect, this is false, this is the truth. But can you instead just sit with, I don't know, we don't know. There's so much happening right in front of us, and so much more behind the scenes, that it's not possible at this time. And this is actually part of a process that we're going through of unraveling. We also need to remember that just as using fear can psychologically affect us and can be used as a tool, if you like, in this battle that we're in, the spiritual battle, so can confusion. Causing confusion is a technique that an abusive person will use in a relationship to try to wear down their victim. Bullies, will use, come on Tilly, it's my little dog, come on Tilly. I like to be real in these videos, whether it's weather or pets. It's a tool that can be used. It can be used to manipulate and to control people. So just watching that confusion, and rather than feeding it, try to sit with being okay with it. That's like the antidote. The antidote is to say, I don't know what's going on. It's become very mysterious and very muddling. It feels very chaotic, and I'm very uncertain about what is right and what is wrong right now. But I'm going to be okay with that. That's the only way, really, to battle against confusion, particularly when confusion is being used to actually muddle you, because that's a way of trying to, it can push a victim down. Having suffered narcissistic abuse myself, I was confused for decades, really didn't know. And then it made me not trust myself. It caused me to not trust my own perception of reality. And that's what it can be doing to us as a collective, to cause us to no longer know. So therefore we become susceptible to more abuse. So let's watch that as a collective and try to sit with the not knowing and not allow it to be used against us, to be weaponized against us. So that was the second part of the channeled message that's coming through strongly this month. The third is abundance. So really looking at abundance. This is like looking forwards, perhaps. So we can see at the moment that there is fear, we need to watch. There is confusion, we need to watch. Abundance is something that is coming. There is abundance coming towards us in time over the next few years, decades, in our lives and together in the world. So it was a question really to say, how do we see abundance when we think about the new earth? When we look at sort of living in a more harmonious way with Mother Nature, when we look at living more in balance, what does abundance look like in that sense? So in our world, in our society, in the kind of the remit, the boundaries that we have, the parameters that we have, abundance can be seen as something that maybe, a brand new car, a lovely house, all things that, those of us who are trying to live on a sort of moderate, more peaceful path would feel, well, we don't really need all that. And so what can happen is we then start to think that actually we don't need all that. So therefore, we would be happy living in a tiny house in a field or a van, living off grid, living in a yurt, living in a tent, that kind of thing, living in community in the woods. That is all amazing. And of course, in the current world that we live in, that is an alternative way of living that is very powerful as a way of saying no to the system, no to the matrix. But actually, I'm being guided that our ancestors lived in harmony, lived in balance, lived very beautifully in connection with Gaia, and they had a very prosperous and abundant world. They lived in a very prosperous and abundant way. They didn't live in a muddy field or in a freezing cold wood. They had beautiful cities, beautiful towns and villages. We can see some of that in the ancient architecture that's appearing all around the world that I talk a lot about in these videos, because it's really important that we look to that ancient architecture for ways of understanding our past and everything that we haven't been told. We can also see it in our cathedrals, in our churches, in the some of the buildings that have remained over the last 1,000 years, because not much has, but you certainly look at a 12th century church or cathedral and you're going to see something very opulent, very abundant. So our ancestors weren't just living in, this idea of sort of, a straw little mud hut somewhere. So could we start thinking about abundance in a slightly different way? Could we start to think about a new earth where we could live together in harmony and in community, in balance with Mother Earth, in a really wonderfully luxurious way without harming our planet or each other? Now, because we don't live in a world where those materials are available, or those scientific ways of fueling our lives are available, free energy, we don't have it yet. We know flying in an aeroplane at the moment is something that pollutes the earth, and but in the long run, could it be something that we could do, and not harm anyone, and not send out, toxins into the atmosphere? So could we start thinking about, living in cities together in beautiful, beautiful, harmonious ways with everything that we could need? Pure water, large homes. Why does it have to be a little hut or a van? Why could it not be, a huge house that is absolutely built with perhaps hemp bricks and free energy, and everything inside it is made beautifully? And to feel that there's, at the way we are in our society at the moment, there's something almost shaming or wrong perhaps about wanting that, because there's the idea perhaps that's greedy. But it isn't greedy to want to live a beautiful life and to be really comfortable. We have all the resources we need on earth, if only we were using them correctly. And I'm sure you all know this, and I'm sure a lot of you know about the technologies that are being suppressed for how we could be living in a more harmonious way. So I'm going to invite you, we're being asked this month to think about that, and to think about those of us who are, perhaps thinking to the future of what will New Earth look like, how will we live? Rather than thinking, that we will just be living in sort of quite cold, damp, difficult, uncomfortable situations. I mean, that's great when you're a teenager or in your 20s. I was part of that scene, we sort of, and now for me as well, the idea of living in a yurt, I would love that. The idea of living in a van, I'd love that. But then I just question myself and I think, well, is that just because I'm living in this world and that's the only option at the moment? And obviously, of course, money as well. We don't have the money to live in a huge house that was also sustainable, but perhaps in the future we may do. So thinking about our ancestors and how they lived, just trying to look at the evidence that shows that their civilizations were really quite incredible. Incredible architecture, incredible planning of, you know, how everyone lived together in harmony in cities and towns. So we're just going to sit with that. We're going to sit with all of that for a few minutes. So just coming to just take a little meditation to bring all of that together. And I'm going to bring some energy healing into this video this time as well. So I hope that you enjoy these rays of light that I'm going to be sharing with you as we just bring all of that together, those 3 points to consider for May: fear, confusion, and how we see abundance, how we're going to draw that in on a quantum level, how we're going to send out an energy of abundance to call in the form, to call in the material, to call in the physical, and to dream big. Let's not make ourselves small. That's the old world. Let's dream big about a future that may not happen in our lifetimes, but could certainly be there for our children and our grandchildren, where they can live a luxurious but yet harmonious life together. So let's close our eyes and take a few deep breaths. And I'm going to call in my angels and the beautiful light beings that I work with. And the earth priests who help me to channel these messages to you. And I'm just going to ask that this meditation and this healing serves you well if you're watching this, and that you can receive these rays, these codes of light that are being sent to you. So just relaxing and dropping into your heart, releasing any tension in your body, your shoulders, particularly your jaw, your hips. And just asking within yourself, where am I feeling fear? And where am I feeling confusion? Whether it's directly in your own life around you, or whether it's fear and confusion about the world and the state of the world and what's happening in the world. And just see if you can feel into your body, feel into your heart, your chest, your belly. And relax enough to feel that you can sit with that fear and that confusion. You can accept it as the way that things are right now for you in your life, and the way that things are in the world. Not feeling that you have to accept what is happening, but that you can be okay with feeling really confused right now without needing to fix that. And that you can bring awareness to fear to allow it to dissipate. Stay with your breath. Take a deep inhale and a long exhale. Taking a moment to call on your higher self to support you in the fear that you feel in your heart, in your mind, and how it disconnects you from your spirit, from your soul, and from love. Call on your higher self, your soul, to support you in releasing that fear, so you can be a shining light, a beacon for a more loving vibration within yourself and all around you. And calling on your higher self, your soul, to help you to release any mental load or feeling of being drained or fatigued, exhausted by confusion. those parts of your ego that need and want to be right? Can you let go of conversations that you might be having or have had recently with other people in your life who perhaps challenge you? Can you let them go? Could you say to yourself, I don't know the answers. I'm very uncertain. I'm really not sure. It's difficult right now to know what is right and what is wrong. It's difficult right now to know what is true and what is false. But I'm going to sit in that confusion and try to find my center within it. So just see if that's possible. You can imagine that all around you there's a swirling like a tornado around you, and that is all the conversations, the things you've read, the things you've watched, the maybes, the not sures, the this or that, the who, the what, the where. Feel it's all spinning around you like a tornado. But you can be in the center, really strong, really grounded, really rooted, really anchored. And just feel that no matter what is going on, your feet are on the ground and you're in a process. We're all in a process. And for now, we're going to be okay with all of the not knowing. And now I want you to let that go and bring your mind to a vision of abundance for the future. So I want you to imagine that we have let go of a lot of this dark Kali Yuga energy that we've been moving through. And over the next few years, coming up to 2032 and beyond, we're going to start really seeing and feeling the shift in the vibration on the planet and feeling the abundance coming back in, spiritual, energetic, harmony, balance, love. And just imagine yourself and how you can see yourself living. How you can see yourself living with others, perhaps in your family or your friends or in the town or village or city that you live in or is nearby to you. Can you imagine people living quite opulently, but yet in harmony? Can you imagine yourself living quite luxuriously, but in harmony? With good water, healthy, nourishing food, a comfortable home, and all completely in balance and alignment with the elemental energies of Mother Earth. And can you envisage that for others as well, envisaging other people in your community also having plenty, seeing abundance as no lack of scarcity, seeing yourselves living perhaps in beautiful countryside, surrounded by trees, perhaps far less concrete on the ground, a more grounded feeling with less EMFs around you, not so many wires and pylons. A way in the future that we could have energy in our homes that isn't toxic or harmful to our pineal glands. But that doesn't mean that we have to go without. We can still have all the mod cons that we currently enjoy. but in a harmless way. Can you imagine taking that idea of living off-grid, yurt perhaps, van, hut, perhaps you're already living in that way, or you're dreaming of it. Can you imagine that? And all the benefits and positive parts of that that you dream of, can you bring that into a more luxurious, really comfortable way of living? Children, older people, facilities, amenities, hospitals, schools, supermarkets. Can you imagine all of these places in New Earth? What would they look like? This isn't something that we have a vision for necessarily. So it might take you some time to start to really be able to see it in your mind's eye. So I'm just going to leave you for a couple of minutes just to feel that you can walk and wander through this dream-like place that you're creating in your mind of New Earth that is really beautifully abundant and yet really beautifully aligned, balanced and grounded with Mother Earth and the elemental kingdom. Beautiful. So I'm just going to leave you there. You might need to just keep your eyes closed and continue that. And the guidance this month is to keep doing that, to really, perhaps as you drive around or walk through your town or go to the supermarket, imagine it still really amazing with lots of everything, you know, on the shelves and everything available, but in a more balanced and aligned way. So this is going to help. If we can all do this, it can help to draw that energy in abundantly in a quantum entangled way. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back next month for an update from my angels, from my guides for June. Blessings to you all.